All right. Welcome back to the Badass Lifter podcast. For this episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. This time, I went to my social medias and asked you guys what is the question you want to know the most about. And I'm going to pick the top five that I got, and we're going to talk about them on the podcast. If you like this format, let me know. I can do future Q&As. I can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I want to make sure that these conversations are relevant to what you want to learn about. And we have five really good questions that was asked that I'm really excited to talk about on this podcast episode. And yeah, let's just get into it. First one is having a hard time getting started. This is totally understandable. It can be overwhelming, and you don't have to know everything out of the gate. I think sometimes people have a hard time getting started because they feel like they need to know all the answers at the beginning. They feel like they need to know what their program should look like, how they're going to progress. They need perfect form on all the exercises. And I want you to know that that's not the case. And in fact, most people figure it out as they go. Most people didn't start with all the information. They started knowing they didn't know everything and then figured it out. So if that's the reason why you're having a hard time getting started, that's what I would look into as like a first step if it seems overwhelming. Does that mean you go in with no plan at all? I don't think that's the right strategy either. I think it's good to have some kind of plan, some kind of schedule, while knowing that it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. But truly, like, maybe this is not properly answering the question, but like just getting started solves a lot of this concern, and figuring it out as you go seems to be the right way. And as you see progress, it's easier to stick with as you see yourself getting stronger, the weight on the bar is increasing, your form is improving. It's much easier to stick with. And then it becomes a habit over time. And so you don't necessarily have to figure it all out at once. And then once you do see results come in, it's easier to stick with because now you see the reason why you're there. Like you're doing these exercises because you're getting stronger. It feels good to get stronger. I think that's something that's important to mention as well. If you're still nervous about getting started, I would do what's known as like the 5 minute rule. I've talked about this on the podcast before, where you go to yourself, I'm going to wait. I'm going to give it 5 minutes. And then if I don't want to be there, I can leave. This makes the start a little bit easier while not putting too much pressure on getting a full workout in, because we just want to get you started. It doesn't really matter if you get half a workout done or only 2 out of your 3 workouts done for the week. We just want you to get started, and then you can figure it out from there. I think also like having a workout buddy or a trainer does help in this situation where you have some level of accountability, where if you don't do the workouts, there is someone to answer to. Not answer to in a way that's like aggressive, but just like, okay, I should do my workouts because I know that, like, let's say you're working with me, that like Mark's going to check up on me, see how things are going. So I should probably get, at least one workout done. That's what I would recommend, is having some kind of accountability partner. If you don't have one of those, as of this recording, I am taking new clients. I'll put the link down below. If the click on the link and there's no application, that means I'm full. But as of this recording, I am taking clients. So if you do need someone for accountability, that's what I would recommend. All right, that's question one. These are really good questions, just reading them, by the way. Question two. I don't feel like I can talk to my trainer and then me and my trainer aren't on the same page. So this is pretty common for people who don't want to focus on the weight on the scale, where they find a trainer who they're weight focused. And even if you tell them you don't want to focus on that, they still might force weigh-ins. They still might mention body changes, things like that. If this is the situation that you're in, I think that there's a couple things you can do. One, just like ask, like just like tell them like, hey, like you're focusing on this is not what I want to focus on, can we change that? Not in a way that like they're in trouble or anything, but just like, hey, like, I don't like when we talk about weigh-ins, I don't like when we talk about body changes, can we not focus on those as part of the process? If they still are not helping you at that point, I think it's fair to say that you probably should look for someone new if they're not able to accommodate that. This should be a partnership. And if they don't take your issue seriously, like you should find someone who does take your issues seriously. And if it doesn't work for them, like that, there are different trainers for different people. Like you don't have to, not give them a hard time about it, but like maybe they're just not the right trainer for you if that's not something that they can accommodate, or maybe they're just too weight focused for you. If you're just nervous to ask in general, I think it's important to understand that like the trainer is there to help you and they work for you, not the other way around. And the more the trainer knows, the better they can make the program. Sometimes they're including these things that you don't want to include just because they don't know. And so like you can't really blame them, because like if they just have a lack of information. So the more information you give them, the better they should be able to make your training. And even if you think the question is dumb, sometimes those dumb questions, quote unquote, are the most important to deal with. Like sometimes those are like the key to making you stronger. I would rather ask a dumb question than not do something that could be holding back how strong I could become. So it's important that like I would overshare versus undershare, because oversharing is just like, okay, I just have information that I don't need. It doesn't change anything. That's oversharing. Undersharing is I don't have the information I need to make you stronger. So I would rather you give me too much information and then we can figure out what's relevant and what's not, as opposed to undersharing where we could be missing something important and you don't get as strong as you want to be, et cetera, et cetera. So make sure you and your trainer are on the same page. And if you're not, kind of what we just talked about, find a new trainer or talk to them and see if you guys can figure something out. Yes, that's question 2. Question 3, push-ups are hard on my wrists. So I've noticed this is a big challenge. I think with the wrist pushed backwards and then putting your body weight onto your wrists, for some people that is tough. For some people or it like hurts. And there's a couple things we can do as like alternatives that could be helpful. And if push-ups are causing discomfort or pain, this isn't something you should ignore. Like we should try and figure out a solution and go from there. The first one is dumbbell push-ups, which is where you, instead of pushing from the ground, you hold on to 2 dumbbells, so that your wrist is not really in that extended position. It's closer to that neutral position, and see if that helps your wrist in terms of pain. The other option, and I think this is the one that I like the best, is Smith machine push-ups, or you can also use a barbell and a squat rack, where you set up the barbell in the Smith machine, and then you try lifting there. Your hands can be in kind of more of a neutral position. You can also change the height pretty easily. I actually think this is better on a Smith machine than a barbell and squat rack, but both do work. And if you need video examples of this, like I'm happy to send them to you, make them, etc. Just like send me a message and let me know. But that I found has been helpful for people who have some wrist pain from regular push-ups. It allows them to still do the push-up movement, but not in a way that is as tough on their wrists. I think it's also important to mention here that push-ups, while they are a great exercise, are not the only exercise. And if that pushing motion just like doesn't work for you for whatever reason, there are other great pressing exercises like dumbbell press, incline press, etc. Now, if you want to work on your push-up and that's an important goal to you, I think that's great. Try these alternatives. But if push-up is just like the one of many exercise for you and it's not that big of a deal, I would try other pressing exercises, maybe with a dumbbell or a barbell, instead of maybe a body weight push-up, and then going from there. So really good question. I get this question a lot actually when it comes to push-ups. You don't have to have pain in push-ups. We can solve this for sure. Question 4, I have a hard time not comparing myself to other people. I get this question a lot, especially as people are comparing themselves to either other people online or other people in the gym. And, this is common to feel like you're not doing as well as others in the gym. I think the first thing to note is that if you're a beginner lifter that you're just starting, it's not really a fair comparison to look at other people who are several months or years in and then compare yourself. I think is pretty unfair. Like it's kind of like comparing yourself to like let's say you're like a high school basketball player and you're comparing yourself to like NBA players or college players like that, like we would all be like, maybe this isn't quite the same. And then for lifting, that's also the same, where like if you're comparing yourself to influencers online or like other people who have been around for years and they lift more than you, like they're farther along in their journey. And that makes sense. On top of that, I think, we've talked about this again in previous episodes, but if you find yourself comparing yourself to other people too much in a negative way, which it normally is a negative way, usually the comparison trap is like not positive, right? You need to try focusing on your own progress. Where were you 3 months ago, 6 months ago? Have you gotten stronger on certain lifts? Are you progressing over time? Can you do more reps of the same weight, or can you lift heavier than you were before? Be selfish. Make your journey about you. It's about your own personal progress. That's what this journey is about. When you go into the weight room or home gym or wherever you lift, it's not about what other people are doing. Your program, your journey is about you. You are the hero in your story, essentially. Okay? Don't make yourself a side character. You're the main character. Okay? Make your journey about you as much as possible. Focus on how you have progressed and be proud of the fact that you are progressing and getting better. That's what I would say without knowing too much. I get this question asked a lot. And it's totally fair where you're coming from. I think there's a lot of things in our world right now that make it easy to compare. But the more that you compare, in my opinion, the worse your journey will be. Last question we have. And by the way, like I mentioned before, if you want me to answer these questions on a podcast episode in the future, send me a message on any of my socials. I will get back to you, either the podcast page, the Training Strong Women page, email, whatever. Like, I would love to do this again because I think I want to make sure these conversations are as relevant to you as possible. And I want to make sure that you become strong. Okay. So answering the right questions is very, very important to me. Question number 5. If I miss a workout, should I make up for the workout in the next week? So like maybe you had a busy week. Normally you train 3 days a week. You missed the third workout on Friday. And then you're like, well, maybe I'll do 4 next week. I think it's better just to acknowledge that you missed the workout and then move on. If you miss a workout, it really isn't that big of a deal. Your body's probably not even going to know. Sometimes life happens and you have more important things to worry about than your workout. And I think like that's totally understand. You have a life, okay, outside of the gym, and that's fair. You have friends, family, job, whatever. Sometimes you're going to miss workouts, and that's fine. I don't think you need to. What I've seen happen is constantly playing catch up, where normally you train 3 days a week, but you only got 2 in. So now you have to try get in 4 next week, but you only get in 3 because that's what you're used to getting in. And then you're still making up for that workout. And then you're just kind of like bringing workouts over and over again to like, you're constantly moving the missed workout. I would say, listen, you missed the workout. It's fine. We don't need to feel bad about it. Move on, start fresh. Consistency is key, but that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. And yeah, I think like that's like, you don't need to be perfect. And I think this is like trying to still be perfect. Missed workouts happen. They're going to happen. And that's all part of the journey. And you don't need to go that route. So I would say no, almost always. If you're regularly missing workouts, there's like a larger conversation to have there. But like if you just missed a workout for whatever reason, like truthfully, no one cares. If you have a trainer you're working with, they shouldn't care. You shouldn't care. It happens. Yeah. So those are the 5 questions that I had for today. I really like this style. I really like answering questions that are like very relevant to what will make you become a strong, confident lifter. If you want your question answered in the future, let me know if you like this style of podcast, and I would love to do this again. And yeah, thanks for listening to another episode of the Badass Lifter podcast.